If you're a developer building with AI, you know the drill, right? You've got one API for video, another for music, a third for images, and they all have different keys, different bills, different everything. It's a mess. Well, today we are diving deep into a potential solution for all that chaos, Kie.ai. We're going to walk through a really thorough review from popular AI tools.ai to see if this is the shortcut we've all been looking for. So let's get into it. And let's just start right here with this quote from the review because, honestly, it says it all. This is the entire promise of Kie.ai in a nutshell. It's not just about getting access to models, it's about getting access to the best, the absolute cutting-edge models all through one single endpoint. And, the kicker, at a massive discount. That sets the bar pretty high, so let's see if they clear it. But before we get to the solution, let's really nail down the problem, what the review so perfectly calls the AI API jungle. And trust me, if you've ever tried to ship a modern AI product, you know this jungle is real. Sound familiar? You want to use Google's VO for video, so, okay, you set up a whole Google Cloud project. Then you need Suno for music. That's a completely separate account. You want that unique Midjourney style? Get ready for what the review calls Discord bot gymnastics. And before you know it, your code is a tangled nightmare of different client libraries, and your finance department is staring at 3, 4, 5 different bills. It just eats up so much time and energy. Okay, so that's the pain. And this is where Kie.ai steps onto the stage, promising to be the machete that cuts through that entire jungle with one single elegant tool. So, how in the world does it work? Well, the review describes Kie.ai as a unified API gateway. Think of it like a CDN, but for AI models. Instead of you connecting to every single vendor, your app makes one call to Kie.ai. They do all the messy work, they translate your request for the right vendor, they handle their authentication, they bill your one account, and then they send a clean, standardized response right back to you. The goal is dead simple: one API key, one bill, one integration to rule them all. All right, so the integration sounds smooth, but a gateway is only as good as the places it can take you, right? So what about the horsepower? What models are we actually talking about here? Let's take a look at the catalog. First up in the video corner, we're talking about the big guns. The review highlights access to Google's heavyweight champion, VO 3.1, for incredible text-to-video, complete with synchronized audio. They've also got Runway Aleph and Kling for those really cinematic clips. Now, it's worth noting, this space moves at light speed, so access to these frontier models can always change. But having them all under one roof like this, that is a massive advantage. Now for music. Kie gives you the keys to the entire Suno kingdom, from V3.5 all the way up to the latest V4.5 Plus. You can see right here in their playground, you have all the options. Generate full 8-minute tracks, get the instrumental stems, basically everything you'd need to bake high-quality AI music right into your application. Oh, and the review points out it's about 50% cheaper than going directly to Suno. Not bad. And this slide, this just perfectly illustrates the sheer range you're getting. On the left, you've got Google's Nano Banana Pro, which is built on Gemini 3.0, by the way, for just ridiculously sharp, high-fidelity images. And then on the right, you've got Kling for cranking out professional-grade 1080p video. And you can switch between these completely different creative tasks without ever changing your API key. Okay, listen up, because this is what the review highlights as a huge differentiator. Kie.ai is currently the only way you can programmatically use Midjourney's models without fighting a Discord bot. For any developer who has actually tried to automate Midjourney, you know this is an absolute game changer. It takes one of the world's most popular and iconic image models and turns it into just another simple, reliable API endpoint. So let's just recap. You're getting top-of-the-line models across every major category you can think of: video, image, music. They even have unified endpoints for large language models. It's the whole shebang. It's a comprehensive toolkit for building pretty much any multimodal AI app you can dream up, all without that headache of juggling a dozen different vendors. A killer model catalog is one thing, but let's be real. For developers making a decision, it often comes down to the brass tacks: price, performance, and those little extra perks that just make your life easier. Let's start with the perks, and this is a good one. Kie.ai gives you a seriously generous free trial. You get 5,000 free credits just for signing up. And here's the best part: no credit card required. The review made a point of this. This isn't just enough for a Hello World test. We're talking enough credits to generate dozens of video clips or maybe a whole album's worth of music. You can actually build a real prototype. All right, now for the main event: price. This number is the headline for a reason.
Kie.ai is consistently 30 to 80% cheaper than paying the official vendors directly. How do they do that? Well, they negotiate massive volume deals, and then they pass those savings on to you. For a startup, or frankly, even for a big company, saving that kind of money on your AI spend is transformative.
And of course, being cheap doesn't matter if the service is always down. Kie.ai promises a 99.9% uptime SLA, and the review team said they saw 0 timeouts during all their testing. They also called out this quiet but super important feature, edge-side retry logic. Basically, if an upstream model has a temporary glitch, Kie.ai handles retrying it for you so your application never even sees the error. That is clutch. So, how does Kie.ai actually stack up against the competition? The review puts it all out on the table. While a platform like Replicate is still the king for open source models, Kie.ai just completely dominates its own lane with huge wins on price and that exclusive access to commercial models like Midjourney. The takeaway is simple. If you're building a commercial product and you need the best of the best models, Kie is positioned to be your top choice. So it's powerful, it's cheaper, and it's reliable. But is it a pain to get started? The review team actually put a stopwatch on it.
And the answer is under 10 minutes. The entire process is just these 5 simple steps. You sign up, you get those free credits, you grab your one API key, pick an endpoint like /v1/vo for video, and you post your request. For the bigger jobs, you get a task ID back that you can check on. It's a standard, clean, asynchronous REST pattern. Any developer on the planet will feel right at home. And that lightning-fast integration is made possible by what the review called really solid documentation. For every single model, you've got clear guides with copy and paste code snippets for Curl, Python, Node. This is exactly what developers want to see. No guesswork, just clear instructions to get you from 0 to a working API call in minutes.
So after putting the whole platform through its paces, the models, the pricing, the performance, what was the final bottom line conclusion from the reviewers? And I've got to say, I appreciate that the review gives a really balanced view here. The strengths are obvious, you save real money, you get every key model, and the integration is a breeze. But they also point out the potential downsides. With any gateway, there's a risk of vendor lock-in. You might not get every single experimental feature the day it launches. And yeah, for some, figuring out the credit system is a little more brain work than a simple dollar price. These are totally fair points to keep in mind. But even with those trade-offs, the final verdict is overwhelmingly positive. A 4.6 out of 5 is a fantastic score. The key takeaway is that for their target audience, developers building multimodal AI products, the benefits you get in cost savings and saved engineering time are they're too big to ignore. And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? The review makes a really compelling case that Kie.ai tears down some pretty big walls of cost and complexity. So it leaves us with this thought. If those barriers were suddenly gone for you, what new ideas, what new applications would you finally be free to build? Something to think about.